promise the anime is more than this. When it comes to anime, I'm not normally one to sit down and watch a romance or slice of life, as I would usually prefer to watch something with a bit more action like a shonen or some type of power fantasy, but sometimes I get the urge to watch something with cute girls being dumb or a nice heartfelt romance, like in my recent case of watching anime of the year, The Dangers in My Heart. However, when it comes to Alya sometimes hides her feelings in Russian, I wasn't drawn in by either of those things. I was scrolling through Twitter one day when I came across Feet, and something forced me to sit down and watch the show, and I'm extremely pleased to share I actually enjoyed what I watched, and no, it's not just because Alya made my second brain happy. The show starts by immediately showing us our main girl, Alya, a member of the student council, who many of the students at the school find attractive, with one of those students even daring to ask for her number, but was met with a cold response from Alya turning him down, which gave off the impression that she was going to be a more closed-off character that doesn't really get along well with anyone. She then gets to class and we meet our main character Kuze, who she kicks awake and accuses of being a degenerate who stayed up watching anime all night, in which he casually responded that he did, and goes on to say that he had a discussion with a friend about an anime for 2 hours, which led to Alya calling him stupid and saying, which, when asked what she said, informed him that she was just stating that he looked pathetic. However, that's not actually what she said at all, as soon after, she does it again after making Kuze give the wrong answer in class, in which he reveals to us that he knows exactly what she's saying and can clearly understand Russian. Means cutie, and she goes on to cutely poke at him some more in Russian, saying that he's as red as a baby, but Kuze continues to let her have her fun with making fun of him and doesn't say anything about understanding Russian, because to him, he feels like it would make things awkward between the two of them, so he just continues to go, "I hear what you said, which on one hand, sure, it would make things awkward between the two of them, but on the other, I feel like waiting until when he inevitably does reveal it later on, it would probably just make it worse. But hey, Kuze isn't the smartest person in the world, despite the show trying to make it seem that way, as it was revealed to us in that same scene that as a kid, he used to play with a Russian girl that lived near his grandpa's place, which is where he learned to understand and speak Russian just so he could talk with that girl. Now, the anime at this point hadn't showed us what this girl looked like, but later on in the episode, we did get a look at her, and as soon as I saw her, I was like, wait a minute, that's just Alya. But Kuze, for whatever reason, can't put two and two together despite their eyes, face, and hair looking exactly the same. The only difference is that her hair was blonde as a kid. Like, I don't live in Japan, but I highly doubt that there are that many people that speak Russian and Japanese there.
I think this guy's a lost cause.
The scene after we learn why he doesn't tell her, we meet some of Kuze's friends and the other members of the student council. Maria Kujo, Alya's sister, and Suo Yuki, the student council spokesperson, and this nice little subscribe button. This is where we learn that Kuze and Yuki apparently go way back and are childhood friends, which ends up making Alya jealous of her because of how close the two of them are. Yuki also attempts to get Kuze to join the student council with them, as he used to be her vice president in middle school, which again causes Alya to get cutely jealous of her. Now, after everyone says their goodbyes and Alya realizes that her and Kuze are actually friends, is where we got the scene of Kuze dreaming of the girl he used to know, which again just confuses me how stupid this man can be. Like, I personally think I would remember the time I fumbled what could have potentially been my wife. But at the same time, if Alya had liked him back then and even likes him now, does she not remember him either? But that's besides the point, because in the next scene I completely forgot about all of that, because due to the dream, Kuze actually got to school early for once and put the classroom together, which surprised Alya, but that's not important, as what's truly important in this scene is that Alya's sock was wet and it needed to be changed. So she nonchalantly sat down and took off her sock like it was nothing, but noticed this got a reaction out of Kuze and made him fetch her sock from her locker and put it on for her, which she claims would be a treat for him, and in Russian says for herself too. And now, being the absolute degenerate that he is, Kuze agrees and grabs hold of her feet, and you know what, just enjoy the scene. Kuze then messages his sister about his newfound enjoyment for legs, which is absolutely based, and then apologized to Alya for what had happened, but slipped up and spills the fact that he saw her panties, leading to a chase around the school before he catches her and provides her with her favorite drink, with her again flirting with him in Russian and him pretending not to know. The second episode is where the show actually got a bit more serious, with us meeting the student council president, who takes Kuze, Alya, and Yuki out to dinner because Kuze had helped them with some work in the office that without him probably would have taken a few days. At the dinner, the president asks Kuze Kuze to join the council, in which he refuses again, and Yuki insists yet again, asking him to run for office with her. He says no, and we do learn that Alya is also running for office, which causes a bit of tension between Alya and Kuze on their walk home and later on in the episode. But right after that, Kuze arrived home where Yuki is there awaiting him, reading a romance manga, and where we learn that the two of them are actually siblings, which in retrospect was pretty obvious from their hair alone, but the only reason they pretend to be childhood friends is because Yuki believes that a childhood friend can also be a sibling, so she doesn't think she's lying to anyone. She also probably thinks it's pretty funny to do it. But here is where we're shown just how much more of a degenerate Yuki is than Kuze when she found out that the characters in her romance manga were siblings themselves, which led to Kuze saying that they were step siblings or something, and Yuki freaking out on him saying this. After that clip, we were given the greatest scene and probably the only reason I sat down to watch this show.
Good morning, my brother.
Yuki continued to mess with Kuze at that point, asking if he's got a stiffy when being told to get off.
What do you mean by that?
The two of them then went on a date to the mall and bumped into Alya, who was spying on them, with her getting jealous of Yuki again because they were alone together. Yuki then gaslights Alya into going to an extremely spicy ramen joint for lunch, where she continues to bully our cutie, telling her that she was in bed with Kuze this morning, which is why she's wearing his clothes, which pisses her off, but she was then immediately interrupted by the ramen being delivered and her having to fight through the tears to pretend to enjoy it. She was then again gaslit by Yuki to add more spice to it, which doesn't end well. At that point, Kuze then took her to get some ice cream, and we got more important information on why Alya wants to run for student council president. That being simply because she just wants to do it and wishes someone would support her by running with her, stating in Russian that she wishes deep down that Kuze would support her. This leads to Kuze getting a flashback of someone crying, apologizing to their mom and dad, but honestly, who cares about that when in the next scene we got Alya changing? That's right, Kuze accompanied Alya shopping, and we got a changing scene with her showing off her outfits to Kuze, and most importantly, we got the real greatest scene in the show. Now, the show, while only being 2 episodes in, has already made me care a lot about the characters. Not just because one's a degenerate who enjoys incest in anime and manga, the other is a tsundere cutie patootie that could do no harm, and one is just stupid, but also because all of them already have some sort of depth to them, with us already getting scenes with Kuze seeming to have some kind of troubled past in school, which could be the real reason why he shies away from the student council, and Alya wanting to prove herself and wanting to become the student council president, getting upset that Kuze would even ask why she wants to do it in the first place. The series to me doesn't really have any faults as of yet, aside from the fact that I mentioned earlier, with them trying to portray Kuze as someone that could figure out or do anything if he puts his mind to it, yet he can't put 2 and 2 together that Alya and his childhood friend are the same person. But again, that's just a personal gripe and doesn't push me away from enjoying the peak that the show is, because ultimately that's just his character. He's smart when he wants to be, but can kind of be an idiot when it comes to other situations, and that's what makes him great and the show all more enjoyable. That's just what I think though, so please feel free to let me know how the show has made you feel.